Imagine surviving something terrifying, maybe a serious accident, a war, a violent attack, or even years of emotional abuse. You make it through, life moves on, but somehow your brain doesn't. Weeks, months, or even years later, a sound, smell, or random memory suddenly throws you right back into that moment. Your heart races, your body freezes. It feels real all over again. That's the reality for many people living with PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. Some people think it only affects soldiers. Others assume it just means being unable to move on. But PTSD is far more complex than that. It's not weakness, laziness, or being dramatic. Today we're looking at what PTSD actually is, where it came from, how it affects the brain and body, and why humans can sometimes stay trapped in survival mode long after the danger is gone. Right here, on History of Simple Things. Although the term PTSD is relatively modern, the condition itself has existed for centuries. People throughout history noticed that terrifying experiences could leave lasting psychological scars, even if they didn't fully understand why. During ancient times, Greek historians described soldiers who became emotionally disturbed after battle. In the American Civil War, doctors observed strange symptoms in soldiers and sometimes called it soldier's heart. During World War I, the term shell shock became common because many believed exploding artillery shells physically damaged the brain. But doctors later realized many traumatized soldiers showed symptoms even without physical injuries. By World War II, terms like combat fatigue appeared, but mental trauma was still poorly understood. Many sufferers were unfairly seen as weak or cowardly. It wasn't until after the Vietnam War that psychologists began seriously studying long-term trauma in veterans. In 1980, PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, officially became a recognized medical diagnosis in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, also known as the DSM. That recognition changed everything. Researchers eventually discovered that trauma could physically affect brain activity, stress hormones, and emotional regulation. PTSD was no longer viewed as a lack of toughness. It became recognized as a real medical condition. To understand PTSD, it helps to understand how the brain normally reacts to danger. When humans face a threat, the brain activates the fight, flight, or freeze response. Stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol flood the body, preparing a person to survive. Heart rate increases, breathing speeds up, and senses become sharper. Normally, once the danger passes, the body calms back down. But PTSD changes that process. In people with PTSD, the brain can become stuck in survival mode. The amygdala, which processes fear, becomes overactive. Meanwhile, areas of the brain responsible for rational thinking and emotional regulation may struggle to calm those fear responses. As a result, harmless situations can suddenly feel dangerous. A loud sound may trigger panic. A smell, song, or location connected to the trauma might instantly bring back terrifying memories. Even when a person logically knows they are safe, their nervous system may react as if the traumatic event is happening all over again. This is why PTSD is far more than simply remembering something bad. It's the brain repeatedly reliving danger. PTSD symptoms are usually grouped into four main categories. The first is intrusive memories. These include nightmares, flashbacks, or unwanted thoughts related to the trauma. Some flashbacks can feel so vivid that people temporarily lose awareness of their surroundings. The second category is avoidance. People with PTSD often avoid places, conversations, or activities connected to the traumatic experience. Someone involved in a car crash might refuse to drive again. A veteran may avoid fireworks because the sounds resemble gunfire. The third category involves changes in mood and thinking. Many people experience guilt, shame, emotional numbness, depression, or difficulty trusting others. Some lose interest in activities they once loved. The final category is heightened arousal and reactivity. This can include irritability, insomnia, difficulty concentrating, hypervigilance, or being easily startled. Some individuals constantly feel on edge, as though danger could appear at any moment. For a diagnosis, symptoms generally need to last more than a month and significantly interfere with daily life. One of the biggest misconceptions about PTSD is that only certain types of people get it. In reality, trauma affects everyone differently. Two people can survive the same event and respond completely differently afterward. Genetics, childhood experiences, support systems, personality, and previous trauma can all influence how someone processes extreme stress. PTSD can develop after military combat, but it can also result from domestic violence, childhood abuse, sexual assault, serious accidents, terrorism, natural disasters, or witnessing death and injury. Even first responders, healthcare workers, and journalists exposed to repeated trauma may develop PTSD over time. Children can experience PTSD too, although their symptoms may look different from adults. Younger children might reenact traumatic events during play or become unusually fearful and withdrawn. The good news is that PTSD is treatable, and many people recover or learn to manage symptoms successfully. Treatment often includes therapy, medication, or a combination of both. One of the most effective treatments is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which helps people gradually process traumatic memories and change harmful thought patterns. Another approach called EMDR, or eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, has also shown promising results for many patients. Support from family, friends, and support groups can make a major difference as well. Recovery usually takes time, and healing is rarely a straight line, but improvement is absolutely possible. One important thing experts emphasize is that PTSD should never be dismissed as weakness. Trauma changes how the brain operates, and seeking help is not a sign of failure. It's part of recovery. PTSD is often invisible from the outside. Someone may appear calm while internally fighting fear, panic, or painful memories every single day. That hidden struggle is one reason the condition can feel so isolating. But understanding PTSD helps remove some of the stigma surrounding it. It reminds us that trauma is not simply something people get over. The human brain is deeply shaped by experience, especially terrifying ones. And maybe the most important thing to remember is this: surviving trauma does not make someone broken. It makes them human. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.